Flip to Freedom, episode number 78. Hello again, this is Sean Terry from the Flip to Freedom podcast, and we are on episode number 78 in 2012, number 2 episode for 2012, and I am psyched to bring this episode to you. Now, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about obstacles that can kill your 2012 and how to obliterate them, because obstacles are just obstacles. And guess how? You know how I feel about obstacles if you've been listening to this podcast. You either go over them, you go under them, you go around them, or my favorite, you blow through them. So we're going to talk about these obstacles, how to find cash buyers. People are like, oh my gosh, how do I find cash buyers? I don't have enough money. What do I do if I have no capital to get started, right? I don't have time around my work. I got to do my work. I got to do my job. How am I going to do that? I'm afraid of contract issues and legals and legal contract issues and stuff like that. How to fill out contracts, how to find closing agents, and those are probably the major obstacles that people run into. Okay, and that's what we're going to talk about in this particular episode. Now, if you are brand new listening for the very first time, I can tell you this is going to be your favorite podcast, because not only will you be inspired, you'll be motivated, but you will learn how to go out and flip properties in your spare time and make an extra $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, or $100,000. Okay, now the whole premise of this podcast is to go out and show you how to go out and get your first check by flipping properties. Then to go out and replace your income. If you make $50,000 a year, the goal is to make $50,000 in cash as fast as possible, so you have the option to quit your job. And then after that is to build cash flow assets, buy cash flow assets, so you can replace your income with cash flow. It's the whole premise of this podcast. Now, if you don't know what flipping properties is, it's as simple as finding a motivated seller, someone that's motivated. Let's say you have a $100,000 property and you find a motivated seller. The property could be a fire damage, vacant property. It could be an absentee investor saying they're sick of renting a property. Could be an inherited property, probate property, whatever the case may be. You find that motivated seller. They sign a contract with you for $50,000. And because now you have a contract and you have equity interest in the property, you have the ability to market that property. Okay? Now, you're going to have a contract with the seller for a price, $50,000, for a time frame, 30 to 45 days to close. So you market the property to a cash buyer. Let's say you market it for $60,000. Cash buyer comes in and says, hey, I'm going to pay you $60,000 for the property. What happens is now you sign a contract with a buyer. You bring both contracts to the closing agent, and what happens then is the closing agent will facilitate the closing. They're going to contact the buyer and say, hey, we got all the paperwork ready. Wire in $60,000, of which $10,000 goes to you and $50,000 goes to the seller. Seller's happy, buyer's happy, they got a below market property, and you're happy because you walk away with $10,000. Now, how would you feel if you go out and you get started and you get your first check for $10,000? Not bad, huh? Yesterday, went to the title company of closing, and I've got one of my guys here locally named Matt, and he picked up a $23,600 check. That is more than half that he makes on his current job working 40 hours a week. A check from one deal. So if that was you, how would you feel? Boom, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Excitement, right? Okay. So that's what this whole podcast is about. Now, people hit obstacles. Things get in the way, right? And they're going, holy cow, it's going to stop them. Well, in this particular episode, we're going to annihilate those. Now, before I do that, you can go to flip2freedom.com, flip2freedom.com, and I wrote a book on the entire process from start to finish, a 129-page book on exactly how to go out and quit your job in 19 weeks or less. Okay, it's a 129-page book. People have told me that they have spent well over $1,000 for the same book that I give away for free. It pretty much blueprints the entire process. Go to Flip2Freedom.com. You'll see a video of me on the front page. There'll be a place you can enter your email, and I'll send you a special link. Then you could download that book for free. Okay, got to get that book. It's great. Now, I've also want to recognize some people that went into iTunes. They went into the iTunes store. They searched the Flip2Freedom podcast, Ultimate Real Estate Investing Podcast, and they submitted a review in iTunes. Okay, here's one from Brent Young that says, inspiring. Don't stop this great podcast on January 15th, 2012. Brent, thank you so much for submitting that podcast. Next one is from BJ, the front man, on January 17th, 2012. 5 stars, said the best, ... Seriously. I'm a musician, so I write this. Creating music is my passion. I love real estate to help fill in the blanks financially. Sean keeps me motivated and helps me fill in the blanks operationally. If you need to know exactly what to do, then this is what you want. What are you waiting for? Subscribe. There's a no-lose situation. This guy is the truth, for real. No more reading. Subscribe and go to his website and download the free book. Well, there you go, right there from BJ, the front man, on January 17th, 2012. Next one is Bruce May. Bruce, how you doing? Outstanding material, he says in his review. 5 stars, January 17th. Sean, I heard you on Joe McCall's podcast and liked what I heard so much that I subscribed to yours. It's only been a few weeks and I started listening, but I finished episode 24 yesterday and I can't seem to get enough of your stuff fast enough. I have to say that you really deliver great content and have answered a lot of questions about wholesaling. I've been investing for a few years and I've changed a lot of what I do based upon what you teach. Thanks. Keep up the good work, and I can't get enough. Well, thank you very much, Bruce May, and I wish you the best of luck in your real estate investing, because right now is the time to get involved into real estate. All right. Now, let's get into the meat here, which I know you like, and it's how to obliterate the obstacles that are stopping you from success, or that might stop you from success. Or maybe you're getting started right now and you're going, you're afraid, because that's the biggest thing that happens when we get started and we do anything that's new. There's a fear of the unknown. Okay? Now, when we get started, we've got to eliminate this fear. And that's why I put all these episodes together, so you can devour and listen to it and learn and get as much information as you can, that you can turn around and hopefully it will eliminate that fear so you can proceed forward and into action. But let's talk about what fear is, really. Because fear can be crippling. Fear is the number one reason people don't get started. Fear is the number one reason for failure, because people fear what they don't know. And here's what fear is. Fear is when you take a situation and you project it into the future and anticipate what could potentially happen. All right? So you take a situation and you project it into the future and anticipate what could happen, right? In a negative way. That's fear. Then you go, oh my gosh. So, right here, one of the obstacles is finding cash buyers. So what you're doing in fear is going, oh my gosh, what if I can't find cash buyers? What if I can't sell the property? So you're saying, what if I get a seller, I sign a contract, and you're projecting into the future that, oh my gosh, what if I can't sell the property? What if I can't find a buyer? Then there's that fear of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Am I going to die? Am I going to blow up? Am I done? What happens? I don't know, right? And we freak out. I know, because I've been there. I get it. I know. And then you go, what if I don't have any money? Right? So then you're afraid, like, what if I do find a seller and they want to move forward, and then you project in the future that, what if I don't have the money to close on the deal? What do I do? See, but then once you continue listening, you realize that you don't need money to close on the deal. So you don't have to worry about that. That's a worry that you don't have to worry about. You know? And then you're going, oh, what if I don't have enough time? What if I put out the market? What if I do this and I project it and I don't have enough time around my job and I'm just too busy? I start dropping things and I do bad at work now. And calm down. It's okay. Regroup and realize this. Is that those fears, most of them never happen. I do coaching calls and I'm in the academy and answering questions. Most of the fears that everybody's like, oh my gosh, about, it's a non-issue. Most of them are non-issues that people worry about that never happen. So what I'm going to do is kind of go through and give you tidbits on each one of these potential obstacles so you can obliterate them, so you don't, so instead of projecting into the future what could possibly happen in a negative way, you could project in the future what could happen in a positive way, because when you turn that obstacle or that fear into something positive, instead of looking at what is going to happen bad, you start looking at what can happen good. See, and that's a key difference between someone amazingly successful and someone that isn't. Is that they project things into the future with a positive twist. And people that are unsuccessful project things in the future with a negative twist. So which are you? What do you do? Do you project things in the future with a negative twist? If so, change it. You want to be successful? Change it. Right? You want to make money? You got to change it. This is the bottom line. But the great thing about it, it's something that we control. Now, first off, before we get into obliterating these obstacles here, let's talk about the attitude. Okay? There are a couple different things that will, first off, it's going to put like a blanket, kind of over you. It's maybe not blanket's not the word. It's going to give you a clear vision. It's going to give you a clear-cut knife to cut through the junk, cut through the crap, I guess you could say, cut through it, right? It's going to give you a knife with a sharp blade. And what is it is having a clear-cut goal, a clear-cut objective, a plan to know exactly, specifically what your motive is, your purpose is, and your plan is. If you have a clear-cut vision plan of what you want to accomplish, then guess what? Obstacles tend to melt away. Obstacles don't become obstacles. Obstacles are just nuisance little things that get in the way from us accomplishing our goals. Now go back and listen to the previous episode, number 77, if you really want to understand goal setting and how to set goals and how to go out and have that crystal clear plan to go out and accomplish things. But that is paramount. Okay? Once you have a clear-cut, crystal plan, then a obstacle comes up. It doesn't devastate your world. And you go, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. It's terrible. I just can't because, I can't find a buyer that's going to buy this property, and then you collapse and melt away. No. What you do is you look at that and you say, hey, listen, that's just an obstacle. Guess what? The next step is, right, is having an internal fight to win. Right? It's the eye of the tiger. It's the Rocky. It's that inside you that, you know what? You've got that determination, that staying power, that you are going to do whatever it takes. You don't care what it is, as long as it's ethical and moral, but you are going to do whatever it takes to get success, to blow through that obstacle. It's determination. Do you have it? If you have a clear-cut goal, and then you have the resolve, the decision, the determination to accomplish that goal, above all else, obstacles, there is no obstacles for you. There's none. The biggest, when I hear people, and I'm talking to them or something, and they have this obstacle, oh my God, this great obstacle that's in the way, I find that there's a lack of clarity in their purpose and goals. And they make the obstacles so, my gosh, so big, so paramount, so huge, that instead of it just being a nuisance, it's in the way that I'm going to find a way around. It's an attitude. Now, if you have that attitude going in, guess what? All these obstacles become very small and minute. And all these obstacles, guess what? They're easy to overcome. I don't see obstacles. I see obstacles as opportunities. Sharpens my saw better and get stronger. Build more character. That's what it is. Believe me, I've had obstacles when I had a lack of vision, a lack of focus. The man was taking me to my knees. I can tell you that right now. But guess what? Once I slap myself around as a wake up, Sean, and I get a vision and focus, and guess what? Obstacles tend to melt away. All right, so now let's talk about the first obstacle. So you get a property under contract and you mark it for a buyer, mark it for a seller. And you don't have cash buyers. You can't find cash buyers. Or maybe you're in a market where there's not a lot of cash transactions. Is your whole opportunity blown? Are you done? Maybe you can't do this. Or maybe you get a property under contract and you don't have the cash buyers. Well, there's a couple different things. First one is this. Number one, I always tell people to reverse engineer. Find cash buyers, and once you find the cash buyers and you know exactly what they want, then you can go out and locate the property. So what I would do if I was going to a new city right now and I didn't know anybody, I would first go down to the county courthouse where they auction off properties. And those typically are in a auction style manner. And it's a bidding to where they go through a foreclosure process, whatever it is, and then they'll auction off the property to the public. Sometimes they do it online. Sometimes they do it down a county courthouse. Okay? If they do it online, guess what? That's an obstacle. Well, guess what? Where would investors, buyers be hanging out? Right? Well, they could be hanging down at the courts. If they are down at the courthouse, well, I'd be talking to them down there, finding out what they're buying, what they're looking for, what type of property they're looking for. Is it a 3-bed, 2-bath? Is it 1,200 square feet? What location they're at? What price range they're at? And I'd find out exactly what they're buying. Right? And now, guess what? Maybe there is no courthouse. What do you do there? You go to real estate investment clubs. Buyers hang out there and talk to people. My second deal that I ever did, I didn't have any buyers, didn't have any cash buyers, didn't have internet, didn't even know about the courthouse. I went to a real estate investment club meeting and I brought a flyer for the property and I ran around and I started passing around. And I started talking to people. Who's buying properties right now? Who's cash buyers? Who do you know is buying properties? And a guy pointed out to this guy. I got this guy's card. I called him up. I met him over at the house. He looked at it. We agreed on a price. And I made a huge check. Huge check. That was my second check. Big check. I think it was like $30-something thousand. I was excited. But if I didn't go to that real estate investment club, I would have never met that buyer and would have never sold the property. So, and this is the thing, is that when I contracted that property, at the time, I didn't have any money, right? I couldn't close on the property. Now, was I scared that I couldn't sell it? Yeah, I was projecting a bunch of fear. Oh my gosh, what if I can't sell it? How many buyers? I don't know how to find buyers. I was freaking out. But guess what? There is a leap of faith that you've got to take. There's a leap of faith that you got to take. You have to take a leap of faith. And you will be rewarded for that leap of faith, I promise. So now, courthouse steps. What's another way to find buyers? Another way to find buyers is talk to a real estate agent. Ask them to pull all the cash transactions that have happened in your county, right? And then what you do is you see if you can get the phone numbers or email addresses of all the selling agents. Okay? The selling agents. The selling agents are the people that sold the property. Not the listing agent, the agent that sold the property to the buyer. And what happens is agents will cultivate cash buyers. So maybe you're going to see a selling agent that has bought on the, because they went and put offers in on properties for their client, and they bought several 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 different properties cash off the MLS. Well, guess what? That person has an active buyer, and if you contact that agent and say, hey, listen, I've got a property, you can turn around and sell it to your buyer, just tack on your commission onto the top. Well, guess what? In Maricopa County, in the past 90 days, there's 2,000 or 3,000, 4,000 cash transactions. Some areas, there's less. But if I was going to go to an area, that'd be one of the first things I'd do. As I talk to an agent, I'd say, give me all the cash transactions. And I'd try to start building a relationship with realtors that are out there that have buyers that are looking for properties. Because the realtors are motivated because they get paid. And how they get paid? By tacking on their commission on top of my price. So what's the next thing you can do? Right? Let's say there is no cash transactions, and let's say it's hard to get below market properties. There's not a lot of cash going on. Are you dead? Is your opportunity out the door? No, it's not. Your opportunity is not out the door. You can search the MLS for expired listings. And guess what? Expired listings, you can do deals with little to no equity properties. Let's say, for an example, you have a $100,000 property and the seller owes $95,000. How much is equity there? Nothing, $5,000. For him to sell the property, he's going to pay 6% commission in closing costs and fees. He's going to have to come to the closing table with cash. So if you can provide an outlet for this buyer or this seller, right, who has tried to sell their property but couldn't, you provide an outlet for them and say, hey, listen, Mr. Seller, what if we could leave your existing loan of $95,000 in place? Instead of you having to come to the table with money, we'll give you $1,000. But we want to leave that existing loan in place for 5 years. Now, you got to make sure it's a good loan. You got to make sure it has a good loan, meaning it's a 30-year fixed loan. It's not an option arm or some interest-only loan or a balloon loan that balloons. And make sure it has a good interest rate on it. Instead of having a 13 or 14% interest rate, it has a 5, 6, or 7% interest rate, which most interest rates are now in this day and age. So what do you have? You have a contract with the seller. How much money you got invested? None. Did anybody pull your credit? No. Right? So you have a contract with the seller. It says, we'll leave the existing loan of $95,000 in place for the term of 5 years. We'll transfer title via an agreement for sale or a land contract or contract for deed. Now, if you don't know what that is, your title company will know that. And then you say, buyer agrees to pay seller $1,000 cash at closing. Right? So now you have a contract. Now you can market that. Who are you going to market to? You're not going to market to cash buyers. You're going to market that to someone who doesn't have good credit, that wants to buy a house and has a down payment. So what would I market that for? I would market that property for probably roughly $11,000 to $12,000 down. Right? $11,000 to $12,000 down. So let's make it easy. Let's call it $10,000. So we're going to market for $10,000 down. We put it out on Craigslist. We put some bandit signs out. Put it in the newspaper, whatever the case may be. We put it out there for $10,000 down. Right? No credit, take over payments, no problem, boom. So someone comes in now with $10,000 down, and you get a contract for them that they're going to buy it for $10,000 down, right? $105,000. They are going to basically buy an agreement for sale, and they're going to take over payments of, say, $800 a month. So that's what the buyer now is going to agree to. So you take both those contracts, you bring them to a closing table, just like we did before, and what happens is the buyer brings in $10,000 plus closing cost, of which $1,000 goes to the seller, right? And $9,000 goes to you. Now the buyer has a property that he owns on a land contract or agreement for sale, whatever. He has an existing loan of $95,000 in place. He can now move in. And people now are projecting into the future going, oh my gosh, what does he have to do after the 5 years? What's going to happen then? Blah, blah, blah. What happens? Well, the buyer, he has to refinance it. He can sell it if he wants. He can refinance it. He can sell it. Or he can pay it off cash. That's his three options if he wants. Or he can renegotiate with the seller if he wants. But what I have found is most people do, they either refinance or they just turn around and sell it. So that's a deal that you can make $9,000 on a property that has zero equity. And just go back to, I have 77 different episodes, and a couple of those episodes are like seller financing secrets, and I cover this in detail in the Flip2Freedom Academy. But the bottom line is there are some episodes I explain this in detail and exactly how to do this. But in a market where you are at, and you don't believe there's equity deals, well, guess what? You can make an absolute fortune off seller finance deals. All right. Now, next one. You have no money, right? You have no money. What are you going to do? Okay, first off, you do not need money to wholesale properties. You don't have to raise capital. You don't have to buy the property. You don't have to fund the property. If you contract a property for $70,000, you don't have to raise private money to close on it. You don't need money. What you do need is a buyer on the other side that will fund in the money and it will cover yours. You get a contract for $50,000, you find a buyer for $60,000, the buyer funds in $60,000, $10,000 goes to you, $50,000 goes to the seller. So that's the case for wholesaling. You don't need money. I bet a lot of people they still think they have to have good credit and cash to be able to do this. You don't need to. So what would be something you would need money for? Right? Maybe marketing. Maybe you need money for some marketing. But what if you have limited capital for marketing? Then what do you do? Right? What I would do if I had limited capital, right? I would get a list from ListSource. ListSource.com. I get a list of absentee investors. These are investors that brought property in my state and they live out of state. Absentee investors. And what I would do is I'd handwrite them yellow letters. I'd handwrite yellow letters and I would send them yellow letters. A yellow letter is a handwritten letter on yellow paper, and it's it's an invitation style envelope with a live stamp, and it's handwritten on the outside. Okay, and it says, "I want to buy your house, dear so and so." It's personalized. I want to buy your house at so-and-so address. And they have the correct address on there. It's handwritten. You can get a company like Yellow Letter Mail. A guy named Michael Corals owns that company. You can go to Yellow Letter Mail. I have my yellow letters and postcards printed and done by him. Or you can just do it yourself if you want. If you have limited capital, then just do it yourself. Handwrite, 50 letters a week if you want, and send them out to these absentee investors. You can send letters to expired listings. Maybe you don't have any money to buy a list for, $30, $40, $50 over at ListSource. So then you get expired listings. Expired listings, you can talk to an agent and say, "Listen, can you give me all the addresses of the expired listings?" Well, those are listings that have expired, right? So you can mail to those expired listings. And people call you up and say, "Hey, I got a house that's $100,000. I owe $95,000, and you can structure the deal with seller financing in place. The other place is Craigslist or for sale by owner sites. Okay, Craigslist or for sale by owner. There are tons of deals sitting on Craigslist, sitting on for sale by owner sites that everybody pass up and look over because they're lazy. I'll tell you that right now. I got a guy, his name's Brandon. He found a property off of Craigslist. The lady wanted 80. We negotiated 60. We turned around and sold it for, I think, 80, 75 or 82 or something like that. But it was a good deal, right? And on Craigslist, she had it on there for a while, right? No one really knew what they were doing. He came in, we met with her, right? And what happened was this. We made the offer. She said she wanted to think about it. She got another offer from somebody. They couldn't close on it. We came in. We closed on the property, or not closed on it, my fault. We got the deal done. We sold it. And not only what we did is she was a single mom, and she inherited the property. We went out and helped her move the entire house because she didn't have anybody. We helped her move the whole house. We got moving trucks. I helped her find an apartment. I helped her move her stuff over there. We got her place set up. We moved her into this place I took an entire day off and helped this lady I don't even know move her stuff, and she was a mess. She had stuff everywhere. But the bottom line is we helped her out and moved it. I didn't have to do that, but it was the right thing to do. So anyways, so you can find great deals off Craigslist and for sale by owner sites. Now, what if you don't have enough time around work? Okay? Maybe you're working a full-time job and you don't have time around what you do. What do you do? Right? What do you do? Okay. Well, let me tell you a story. This guy yesterday, his name's Matt. He just picked up a check for $23,645. He makes, in his job, $50,000 a year. Right? And he works this part-time, maybe 3 to 5 hours a week, maybe. And it's just writing out letters and sending them out to sellers, taking a couple phone calls and stuff like that. But he works a full-time job. See, this is where the goal, your passion, your vision, your mission of what you want to accomplish, when that prevails in your life, then you will find time to go out and do things. So I look at it this, is if what you are doing is going to get you to where you want to go, then continue doing it. If what you are doing is not going to get you to where you want to go, then guess what? You have to change. You're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to spend more time. And I put it like this. It's funny. I went to Lake Tahoe last weekend. Right, went skiing with a family, went with some friends, stayed in a beautiful cabin up at the Hyatt Regency up there, and it was awesome. Right on the lake view, beautiful cabin, rocked. Right, but before we went to there, we flew out on a Friday morning, and that Thursday, I had a list of a ton of things I had to do. I got more done on that Thursday before I went on vacation than I did all the other days. Why does that happen? Haven't you done that before? You got vacation coming up, right? And what do? You cram and you get more stuff done. It's not because you're more motivated that day or whatever it is. It's just you just become more efficient and more effective. You can do it. You can become more efficient and more effective if you have that that goal, that passion that is driving you, because this will get you to where you want to be, the freedom that you want. So not having time. The bottom line is this, is that just do the marketing, just send out the letters. And when the calls come in, you'll get excitement, you'll get motivation, you'll create a momentum, and guess what? You will find the time in the gap. You will find that time. And this is the other thing, Stop telling yourself you don't have enough time. I know, because I do it all the time. I go, I don't have time. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. If you keep telling yourself you don't have enough time, guess what you're not going to have? Enough time. Tell yourself you have time. I got plenty of time. I got plenty of time to do this. I've got tons of time. I've got tons of time. When I start changing my story of what I'm telling myself, amazing things happen. All of a sudden, next thing you know, I have a ton of time. Or something happens. Maybe I'm rushing to an appointment and I tell myself, I've got plenty of time. I got plenty of time. Guess what? The appointment gets pushed back about 10 minutes and everything's fine. Things just tend to work out. So guess what? Start telling yourself you have plenty of time. And guess what? You'll have plenty of time. So now, the next one is afraid of the legal contracts, and oh my gosh, what if I sign a contract and I screw up and I can't sell it and they sue me and I die, right? That's the same thing. I had the same thing. So now, there's a couple different things you can protect yourself on a buy-side contract with your seller, right? And then your sell-side contract with your buyer. So now, what you can do is you can put a simple statement in the contract that says this contract is subject to X. Now, what I do is I put this contract subject to partner's approval. Right? It could be this contract is subject to buyer finding an end buyer. This contract is subject to a 30-day inspection. You got a 30-day inspection. Right? There's another clause you can put in there is in case of a default, the sole remedy is earnest money. Right? and then just give them $10 earnest money or $100 earnest money if you want. So that's the worst thing can happen. So what I do is I just put contract subject to partner's approval, contract subject to an acceptable valuation by buyer, contract subject to buyer finding end buyer. I've done that. I've done that on a property, on a 16-plex property. I call up the buyer and said, listen, you know what, this isn't for me. It doesn't really fit what I'm trying to do. But, you know, I have a ton of buyers I work with. I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a contract contingency clause that this is subject to me finding an end buyer. As long as you get your price, you'll get your net price, you'll get your full price out of it. I'm going to go out and I'm going to find a buyer, and you're not going to have to pay any commission because I'll tack on my commission on top of the price. Is that okay with you? And he's like, sure, fine, no problem. Great. I put it in there. I explained it to him up front. He understood it. And I went forth and turned around and sold the thing. There was a $45,000 profit. He was happy about it. Okay? So, contract clauses. Now, on a sell-side contract clause, what can you do to protect yourself? Contract subject to marketable title. Marketable title means that you have to have marketable title before you can deliver it to your buyer. So now you sell it to a buyer, and the buyer goes, I want to buy the property, but let's say your seller backs out. What happens, right? Your seller backs out. Now you're obligated to sell it through this buyer? No. Contract subject to marketable title. That means you have to get marketable title to turn around and sell it. How do you get marketable title? That split second when the buyer wires in the funds, and then they transfer it to escrow A/B between you and the seller. You close on the transaction, bam, you get marketable title, and then you have the ability to turn around and sell it to the buyer. Okay, contract subject to marketable seller. Now, the other one is this, other obstacle, finding a closing agent. See, when you first get started, right, you want to find a closing agent, someone that can do a double escrow, a simultaneous close, they call it. They can do a contract for deed, an agreement for sale. They can do these seller finance deals. And what happens is, and I've talked to people, and they go out and they start searching for a escrow officer. Now, when I first got started, what did I do? Well, I went through the phone book. I just picked up the phone book. I didn't know any better. I went through the phone book and I said, hey, Sean, can you guys do double escrows and simultaneous closes? And I didn't even know about wraps and agreement for sales. I didn't know about that. I just said, can you guys do double escrows? And I talked to about 3 or 4 or 5 different title companies, and they said, no, we can't do that. Then people told me some crazy stuff. Oh, you can't do that. You have to this, and you have to disclose this, and you have to disclose that, which you got to disclose, period, anyways. So that's a given. But when I started talking to people, guess what? I got some resistance because I was dealing with someone that was brand new in the business, right? So it's almost like this. It's like if you're going to have a brain surgeon that was going to give you brain surgery, would you want someone brand new in the business who was just getting started? I just got out of school. I just got my leg. Hey, I just got graduated. I can now do brain surgery, and you're the first guy? Well, how confident would you be in them? No. When you're dealing and looking for a closing agent, you want the most experienced guy, you or girl. You want someone that has been in the business 10, 15, 20 years that can know how to do deals. Because in the escrow business, I can tell you this, is that the more the more experience they have, the more they'll know about these creative financing things that we're talking about here. Double escrows and agreement for sales and stuff like that, which I do them all the time. So the bottom line is this, is that number one is it's you have to search. It's like digging for gold. You have to search for these particular agents that can close these transactions for you. Right? So what you do is you pick up the phone book, you start talking to people, you start networking. The first thing I would do is I would go down to the RIA meetings, right? And I would find a closing agent there, or I'd talk to other investors that would refer or recommend a closing agent for you. That'd be the absolute best way that you could find someone that can close your deals, someone that's highly recommended to another investor. But this is the thing again. I've had people call me up, or people say, "Oh my gosh, I can't find a closing agent. I can't do it. I've talked to 10 people, and I just can't find that person, and I just don't think it can work in my state." Time out. Yes, it can work in your state. Keep digging. Keep looking. You will find that person. I haven't had anybody across the country that I've talked to yet that says, can't do it in this state. What happens is they dig a little bit deeper, and next thing you know, they talk to 3 more people, and they find some, and boom, everything's great. Obstacle's done. Obstacle's over it. In the Marine Corps, I was taught, you go over an obstacle, you go under an obstacle, you can go around an obstacle, or my favorite, you can blow through it. Right? That's the game here. You look at the obstacle as just an obstacle. And a very successful person once told me, he said, the size of the man is determined by the size of the obstacle they can overcome. So you're going to let this little obstacle, as I can't find a closing agent, get in your way? No. You're not going to do it, because that's not the type of person you are. You are a person of resolve, and you have your focused, clear-cut goal, and you're going to keep on digging. You're going to keep on calling. I don't care if you have to talk to 100 closing agents. You will find someone that can close these deals, won't you? Of course you will. And that's the attitude you have to have. Now, I want you to listen to this, because your thoughts, when it comes about projecting fears, right? Projecting fear into the future of what could possibly happen, negative or positive. Those are thoughts. Your thought of you, of who you are, that is a thought. Your thoughts are incredibly powerful. And when I was in the Marine Corps, I went over to Saudi Arabia. And I heard this story of this guy, this soldier, this Marine, that had his flak jacket on, and he was with his platoon, and he had his M16A2 in his hand. He had his backpack on his back, and they were hiking, through the desert there, or wherever, the city or whatever. They were just walking through the city, and there's a guy behind him. And there was a sniper, right, that was up in one of the buildings, and shot this guy. And it hit the top, just under his collarbone there, like right up his upper chest, right there. And it pierced the flak jacket, and went through the backside, didn't hit a bone, and came out the back and kind of blew out his back. And the blood splattered all over the guy behind him. And the bullet impacted the guy behind him. The guy behind him looked down. He looked at the blood all over him. And he felt the impact. And he freaked out and he panicked. And he died. The guy that got shot had a bullet go through his chest and his back blown out. Lived. The guy that thought he got shot, he died. Your thoughts are the most powerful things that can affect every aspect of your life. It can affect your success. It can affect your attitude. It can affect whether you take action, what type of action you take, right? If you follow through with that action. Your thoughts are the most important things. And here's the deal, is that if you believe you're a champion, guess what? You'll be a champion. If you believe you're a champion, you will be a champion. Now, I want you to listen to this. This is a phenomenal, motivating by Coach Flowers. It's awesome. And he is talking right now to his high school football team. He's talking to his high school football team. And I want you to listen to what he has to say about being a champion.
I will conquer what has not been conquered. Defeat will not be in my creed. I will believe what others have doubted. I will always endeavor to hold esteem, honor, and respect in my team. I have trained my mind and my body will follow. Who am I? I am a champion! I will acknowledge the fact that my opponents do not expect me to win. But I will never surrender. Weakness will not be in my heart. I will look to my comrades and to those who have brought me to this world and those who have trained me, and I will draw strength from them. Who am I? I am a champion! I will gradually go out to the field of battle, and I will move in everything I can do. And I will reach my field of battle at any means at my disposal. And when I get there, I will ride violently. I will rip the heart from my enemy and leave it bleeding on the ground, because he cannot stop me. Who am I? I am a champion! To my side, I have comrades. Comrades that have been through me through thick and thin, through sacrifice, through blood, through sweat, through tears. Never will I let them fall. Never will I let them down. And I will never leave an enemy behind. Because our opponent does not know my heart. Who am I? I am a champion! No one will deny me. No one will define me. And no one will tell me who and what I am and can be. Belief will change my world. It has moved continents, it has moved countries, it has put man on the moon. And it will carry me through this battle. Who am I? I am a champion! Defeat, retreat, those are not in my words. I don't understand those definitions. I don't understand when things go wrong. I don't understand mistakes. But I do understand this. I understand victory, and I understand never surrendering. No matter how bad things go, my heart, my mind will carry my body when my limbs are too weak. Who am I? I am a champion! Today will be that day. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now, right here, in your house and in your home. Who am I? I am the champion! History will remember me! I will not let everybody have been kind. I will define myself. I will write my own praises. And no one will tell me what I can never be. I will never go out not knowing I've given everything I've got. Because who am I? I am a champion. 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 Champions on me, champions on me. 1, 2, 3, champion. Don't get this boy.
Coach Flowers' team, after that speech, went out and crushed the opponent because they were amped up, because they believed that they were champions. So just say that. Say, I am a champion. I am a champion. When you say that, how does it feel? You get that excitement. You get your hair standing on the top of your neck and your blood flowing and you're saying, I am a champion. I am successful. 2012 will be great. I am going to make this happen. I can do this. I have what it takes. I am invincible. I am strong. I can do this. You have what it takes to make this happen. You've got to believe that you are a champion. And guess what? Those obstacles will melt away. They won't be obstacles anymore. Because you have what it takes. I know you do. If you want more from me, go to flip2freedom.com. Flip2freedom.com. Get my book. Download it for free. Read it. And take action. Because action solves all problems. Until next time, take care and God bless.